So the panel interview or the committee interview, your panel interview comprises more than two members interviewing a person for the hiring, and it is most common mode of interview when hiring at senior level. And the interviewee should try to connect with each interviewer, and the best way to do this is to read the personality of each interviewer. So finally, again, panel members, that is the employer, will be sitting, who will be questioning a candidate together. So that is why it is called as a panel interview. Okay. So next, talking about even more in detail about the panel interview. In a panel interview, the interviewer will try to assess the candidate by asking him a question. That is, all of them are sitting in a panel that is in together, and the interviewee should maintain eye contact with the person asking the question, but also seek eye contact with the other members of the panel also. This is the important point which you need to keep in mind. Suppose in future you have to attend any of the panel interview, see that when a person is asking you a question, you maintain eye contact with that person and answer to him. But that doesn't mean you stay stable by looking only at that particular person only, but try to move your eye contact and maintain with every members present over there. Then the next type is classification according to interviews content. So under that, the first comes is situational interview. Now, here the interview will focus on individual's ability to project what is his behavior, and it will be given according to the situation. And the interview can be both structured and situational, with predetermined questions requiring the candidate to project what his behavior will be. So completely here the focus is on the individual's ability, how he is going to respond as per the situation which will be given to him. So completely relying on the situation, the candidate's behavior is being analyzed. So that is why it is called as situational interview. Then job related interview. Here the interviewer tries the uh, applicants to put on the job situation. So it will be based on any of the work related situation. So completely a candidate is being given a position where he has to perform a job on the place, and here his ability is being analyzed, how he is going to perform at the workplace, and depending on the job situation. And job related questions are also asked to draw conclusion about the candidate's ability to handle the job to be filled. So completely your job related interview, as the name says, it's particularly and specified related only to the job. So completely any questions will be related to the on the job. Sometimes he's been put in a situation also which might be like he has to enact and perform the job for that particular frame of a time, where the way he's going to perform the job is being analyzed by the employer. And there is another part also where only the job related questions will be asked, not the role playing or that situation will be given, but only the scenarios will be explained to that person, and he has to come up with his opinions and suggestions, but it will be related only to the job aspects. Then next is um, behavioral interview. So here a situation is described and candidates are asked how they have behaved in the past in such situation. And while situation and interviews ask candidates to describe how they would react to the situation in future also. And the behavioral interview seeks candidates to describe how they react to situations in the past. So completely the behavior questions have been asked, like how did you respond, or how did you handle yourself in so and so situation in the past. And also if in future aspect, if any situation arises, what will be your behavior. So that thing has been analyzed. So here the main motto is to understand the behavior of the candidate, how he's going to respond in that particular position. So it is called as a behavioral interview. Then next is psychological interview. Psychological interviews are the interviews that will be conducted by psychologists, And here the questions are intended to assess personal traits such as reliability or dependability, etc. So a psychologist will try to understand how exactly the candidate will have that organization behavior, and here his personality traits are being analyzed. So that is why it is called as psychological interview. So there are other more types of the interview also. So far we have discussed based on the structure, based on the situation, based on the interview content, how exactly the interviews have been classified. But apart from that, there are few other types also, and that the most common type of interview which is actually being adopted nowadays, that is telephone interview. So here the phone interviews are most increasing nowadays for the mass hiring, and it is been adopted usually for the mass hiring. That is when there are a number of candidate and you cannot call them to the workplace and conduct the interview. So telephonic interview plays the best when you have lots of candidate and you can take an interview on calls. So yeah, the interview is conducted, and this is very effective in eliminating any biases that may arise from the appearance and the manner of the candidate. So here completely the conversation takes place through the telephone calls. Then promotion interview. Promotion interview is where the employees who are due for promotion, and that time the interview is again taken whether he is fit for the promotion or no. Then comes the annual interview, where usually before writing annual reports, reporting officer interacts with the employees subordination. And then comes the periodical interview, that is with the existing employees. It might be related to their day-to-day work routine. And then is the problem interview, in case if any employee is facing any problem at the workplace, and that time related to the problem interview is being conducted. And then is computerized interview. Here the questions are presented in multiple choice pattern. And then is the walk-in interview, where no specific candidates are called, but those who are eligible can come with their valid documents. And then is the video conferencing. Here using video technology, clothing, body language and dialogue are important here, because here you are also not only the conversation takes place, but you are also being analyzed as the person can see you in the video calls. Then is the case interview. Here a case will be given to the candidate, and on the spot they need to come up with a solution. That is why it's called as a case interview. Then facts you should know about the company. Before you go for the interview, what are the points which you should always keep in mind? Firstly, about the company, history, employment and position in the industry. Then is the competitors, products and services, global presence, publications, blogs, presence in social media, analyst review, and also finances of the company, and the position you have applied for, and also requirements for that specific position. I would like to kindly keep a pause on this slide. Just note down this point, my dear students, because whenever you are going for any interview, see that you satisfy all of these points, and you have to be prepared in prior. This will really help you a lot, because when you are confident enough in knowing about the company details, definitely you will be confident enough to speak about yourself also during the interview. Then, okay, so this is the next part. I hope you'll have taken down this point. Okay, so the next is job profile. That is your job profile for which you are going to go apply for, and what are the growth opportunities which you can actually get from that company. That also you need to jot it down. But this growth opportunity you need not go and tell to the interviewer every time. This is not needed. But if the depends on the situation and the interviewer also. So most of the time you keep it for yourself details. So the next is salary offered for that particular role. Salary offered, that is again for your details, for your opinions only. Do not go and ask the interviewer anything about the salary. This is really a bad habit actually. Directly you cannot ask a person. There is a different way also, indirect way you can ask, but directly you should never ask about the salary. In prior it is your duty, you can actually find it out. Then is requirement of travel. What are the requirements of travels? Then working hours to be put in, qualifications and any technical skills required. Then What are the do's and don'ts on the interview? So first let us discuss on the don'ts. Okay, so do not demonstrate overconfidence. Okay, do not answer before the question has been completed. Keep a pause, and the interviewer also assesses your listening ability, also how effective listener you are. That is why you need to listen to the question completely and then you can answer. And then is, do not talk continuously. What is being asked, just be precise to it and justify it. Do not be more, what they say, don't talk, keep on blabbering even more. Then is, do not be rude or get into argument with the interviewer. It's not necessary that every time you have to prove yourself right. What is your opinion you can place, but here it's not a debate competition that you should always be engaged in the argument or proving yourself right to the interviewer. Then the next one is, do not fiddle with your tie or pen. Always keep in mind, no, and usually for the girls also it happens, they keep on tucking their hair behind their ears. This is also really a bad habit. And when it comes to boys, you will be fiddling with a pen, or it might be with a tie also, which you need to actually avoid. Do not extend your hand first for a handshake. This is also really very important, because in nervousness you tend to get confused, and most of the time you offer your first, extend your hand for the handshake. But this is no. Do not extend your hand first for the handshake. Wait for the employer or the interviewer to do first. Then is, do not be unclear about your expectations from the job. Now let us discuss what are the do's, what we have to do. Groom yourself well. Very important. People nowadays will analyze you based on your personality also a lot. That is, the first impression is usually created just looking at you, and finally they will analyze you when the question answer round takes place. So groom yourself well, helps you in catching the first impression. Show enthusiasm. Don't be like a monotonous and like not interested kind of a person. Show some kind of a interest, and be that doesn't mean you have to be overexcited also. Show enthusiasm and that you are interested in the interview. Be involved in the interaction. Carry extra copies of your resume. Always important, you have to carry extra copies of your resume. Wear a cheerful smile. Again, I'm saying there's a lots of difference between a smile and a laugh. You are supposed to carry a cheerful smile but not a laugh. Then is, be polite, assertive, and firm. Be genuine and truthful when you reply. Look into the eyes of the interviewer while talking to him or her. So these are a few points which you can actually take it as a tip point when you are attending an interview. Okay, then what are the questions, the most common questions that is asked during the interview? So kindly take down all this question and start writing the answers now onwards only, because right now you are in your beginning stage of your engineering. So still there is a time, but you will never know, time flies very soon. So it's better you have to get prepared from now onwards only, so that by the time you reach your final year you have to be completely perfect enough and precise enough in answering. Anywhere any person asks you a question, you have to be perfect enough in answering these questions. So these are the common kind of a question, and definitely they will ask you. So just take down these questions, start writing your answer, and get prepared. Daily you need to practice, and practice makes a person perfect, right? So talking about the question, the first is, tell me something about yourself. And as the beginning of the semester, I have already made you all to practice about your personal introduction. This is going to help you all a lot while answering this question. Tell me something about yourself. Okay, what are your hobbies? Hobbies, see, try to be genuine. Do not state like something bluntly. Suppose you are telling that you love gardening, which actually you don't. So a interviewer might ask you what kind of a soil is used for planting so and so, um, plants or seeds. So you have to, such kind of questions also arises that time. So when you are mentioning about your hobby, see that you tell it properly in a genuine way, and you have to have even more detail about your hobby also. Suppose as I told you all, if it is a gardening, have a detail about the plants, types of plants, crops and all, because it's not like um, a child is not been interviewed. You are a person, and your interview is been taken for the job profile. So definitely the questions also will be asked in a very structured form and detailed form. They are going to ask you all the type of soil, the type of plants, and so different questions related to the gardening may be asked. Suppose in case if you mention that you like reading also, what are the books you have read in last few months, and if you are mentioning any author, what do you know about the author? So like this it goes on in detail. So see that you specify your hobby, what exactly your hobby is. Okay. Then the next is, why did you do your MBA after graduation? See, if in case if you are doing your MBA MTech, this question is applied to you all. You all can also like, why did you do your Bachelor of Engineering after your second higher education? So you have to be, similarly, they can ask you a question also, why did you do your Bachelor of Engineering only? Why didn't you go for the other streams like commerce and art? So different questions will be asked. You have to be prepared enough. Then, which is the most recent book that you have read? As I told you all, reading is very important, and reading books, reading magazines, newspaper will help you all in improvising your reading skills, your vocabulary, and also yes, during the interview, most of the time they ask nowadays which are the books you read actually. And reading is a good habit, and here the person gets to understand the candidates is highly knowledgeable. If a person is developing a reading skill, that shows that you are a dedicated and a committed person towards work, and you have a good improvised communication skill. Apart from that, you have some, apart from your technical knowledge, you have the other concepts, knowledge of the different concepts also. So reading is a good habit, and this is also a usual question. So now onwards only cultivate a habit of reading some books. Still there is a time for you all. Okay. And then is, have you heard about so and so, any current topic it might be. Then so keep updated yourself with the current topic also before going for the interview. Then what will you do if you reach office one morning and find out that you have lost your job? So try to be honest enough, but that doesn't mean you have to be more emotional or start cracking joke also. Give a polite answer, and be assertive also. Then what was your role in your previous company? Where do you see yourself 2 years down the line? And what are your expectations from the job? What are your strengths and weakness? Give us an example of an adverse situation at work and how you tackled it. So these are the common kind of a questions which is being actually been asked. So get prepared for all these questions. Now, following up, once you are done with the interview, the last logical step after an interview is, it has mainly two purposes: to demonstrate good etiquette and to give a gentle reminder to the interviewer. Follow up should be done either over phone or email. So you can either go for a thank you note. It is generally written in a positive and direct tone to the interviewer, and its purpose is to express gratitude for the interview's time and for giving a positive impression about you at the interview. You can say that you are hoping for a quick decision from them, and it is also written after you have received the offer letter. But it's a good habit that once you complete your interview, you just drop an email with a thank you letter or a thank you note. And then is inquiry. There could be a situation when you were confident that you would be selected, but you have not heard from your prospective employer. If you have not heard from an interviewer, you can raise an inquiry, adopt a direct approach for such correspondence. Try and restrict yourself to two paragraphs, neither too long nor too short. So these are the two kinds which usually takes place. Let's say that's after interview process. Now, what are the limitations of interview? Personal bias, the halo effect, constant error, leniency, projection, stereotyping, snap judgment, lack of integrations, pressure to hire, too much or too little talking. So these are the drawbacks, and I can say it as a limitations of interview. So finally, concluding about your module topic, the candidate has to physically and emotionally be prepared apart from being knowledgeable in the domain area. And many of the recruiters believe in recruit for the attitude and train for the skills. And apart from pleasing personality, grooming and effective communications plays a very important role in succeeding an interview. Always keep this in mind. Okay. So that's it with the interview topic. I hope you all are clear and you all will be able to answer any of the questions which will be asked to you all related to the interview. Okay, if you all are having any doubts, you all are free to ask in the WhatsApp group. You can have, we can have a good interaction over there. So okay, so have a nice day. Thank you.